Get out right out of your bed, that's your quicksand. Getting rid anxiety and head, you can fix it. Rid of stigmas, all of them you said, we ain't listening. Just remember, try to do your best, you can win this. Maurice Benard, State of Mind.
Okay, this is State of Mind, and it's the new studio, and I'm with my favorite, person in the world. It's her birthday, my wife Paula, and she did the second State of Mind, and it was so many people watched it. It was like 11 minutes in somebody's apartment, and it was like, and I couldn't believe it. But it's taken me through 2.5 years, I guess now, to get her here again, and I'm lucky. I always tell the story just because I think I'm already starting to get a little emotional, but when I first met Paula, she wouldn't let me pick her up at her house. She'd always say, pick me up at the corner, pick me up at my work, pick me up there, pick me up. And I'm like, this is going on for 4 months, right? And finally, I didn't understand why, and I went to her house and knocked on the door, and somebody answered, and I didn't know who it was. And then I said, is Paula here? And she's like, yes, come on in. And there was like 13 people in a little house, and they're all, smoking, and there was drugs and whatever the hell else was going on in there, but I didn't know. And so Paula came out, and we went to my car, and she said, now you know why I never wanted you to pick me up at my house. And then I said, you know what, I don't care if you're rich or you're poor, or it doesn't matter to me. If I care about you, that's what matters. And we've been together over 30 years. So, anyway, here she is, my wife, Paula Benard. First of all, I want to say happy birthday.
Thank you.
And it's going to, when this, it will be exactly on your birthday.
Yeah.
What made you decide to do this?
How about 2.5 years of saying no? And then, I don't know. I'm clearly uncomfortable and not someone who likes being in this position.
No, that's a positive. You like being behind the scenes. You look amazing.
Thank you.
Just for the people that don't know, where'd you grow up? I mean, I know, but I have to ask.
Well, now I know why I'm so uncomfortable, and another reason why I don't like sitting on this side. I love listening to people, telling their stories. I love being there for people who need to tell their stories to someone. I love being an ear. I talk a lot, in my life, so this is, really awkward for me.
Yeah, but you seem somewhat relaxed here more than usual, as far as that I can see. So you grew up in Texas.
Yeah, I grew up in Texas.
Welfare.
Well, and here's the thing. So this is the thing. It's kind of like one of those things, how you want to do a book, and our friend Sue Black, who wrote your incredible book, she's talking about it, and I've always said to her, I don't know where to begin. I don't want to tell a story, and then I get emotional, right? I don't want to tell a story. Shit.
It's YouTube, you can swear.
I don't want to tell a story of someone who had this horrible life, who, lived through poverty and abuse and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to tell that story.
Well, you just tell you don't have to tell a whole big story. You just tell the truth. And if the truth is small, that's fine. If the truth is bigger, that's fine. And if you want me to just guide you, I'll do that. I'll be the one telling it through, because I know it. Now, everybody tells me that you should write a book. And I thought to myself, well, this could be, you're never going to do it, I don't think, but you should, you really should. But I thought this could be kind of a way of writing your book through state of mind, in a sense. But, so your mom left you when you were young, or how old were you when you started, you had to live with different people on welfare, right, as kids, you and your brother?
Yeah. So my mom had a drug problem, and she was amazing. I loved my mom. I was extremely close to my mom, but she had a drug problem, and the drug, overpowered her many times in our life, and we lived homeless. We were taken away and brought to a foster home for a couple years. My brother and my sister and I. And I don't know, like I said, I feel like that's such a long road of something I don't want to
No, what you just said is enough.
get into.
Because that's, at least we get a sense of, you don't have to talk about that any more than that. Now, your dad wasn't around.
So I never knew my dad.
Tell that story, how you met your dad, that was great.
Well, it was hard for me because I lived this life that was very, very, very difficult, okay? But I always felt like there was something there helping me, because I had lots of cousins and my brother and sister who sort of like, they didn't enjoy the chaos of our life, but they were able to sort of be in it, unlike me. I sat back and was horrified and always scared, and but there were a couple things I escaped in. One, the most important thing in my life still today are animals.
Yeah.
Animals were like, I would find a stray dog, a cat, a rabbit, like anything like that, and I related to them. I felt like they understood. I felt like they understood me not having. The reason I don't do this and talk about it is because it's just too hard. Right. So animals were amazing for me. Animals saved me. Animals are why I feel like I am where I am today, how they helped me. The other thing was God. When I was a little girl, there was something about me that felt like I needed someone who wasn't in my life to help me. And that only thing to me was church. And I was an 8-year-old little girl, and I'd walk to church by myself. And then when I walked into those doors, it was like a peace and a happiness that I never felt in my life. And then the other thing was school. So any teachers out there, I had a 4th grade teacher named Mary Jo Wright, who I will never forget in my life. She made me feel special. She made me feel smart and pretty and all the things that I didn't think I was. And I was lucky enough to have her for 4th and 5th grade. And she meant the world to me. And I know that there's a lot of teachers out there that don't realize, especially today, how difficult it is, the impact and the importance that they have on kids. But she did for me, and I had that.
And you got to put things in perspective also. This is something that's always just a standout. It's like that movie where it's a bunch of people in the family doing drugs and everything, and you didn't do it. Mm-hmm. Why do you think you didn't do it?
Don't know. I listen, my mom was very abusive to my brother, and that was very, very difficult for me. I used to have to make my mom stop beating my brother, and I would feel guilty once I got her to stop, because she wasn't doing it to me. She was only doing it to him, because my father, who had left us when we were young, my brother looked exactly like him. So I think that was like her rage. And
Right.
she took her rage and pain out on my brother. And to this day, my brother still lives with me, as you know. And I still feel
Hard-working
like,
John.
yeah, he's the hardest working, most dedicated, loving, person in the world. And he went through hell. He went through literal hell. So.
But still, I get that, what you just said, but still, it's a miracle, I
Yeah.
think, that, I mean, you see it in movies, but in life, I don't think you see it or I haven't seen it as much, where I guess that's God's hand.
I believe so. Yeah.
But you have to ask yourself, why didn't he give your brother the same thing, or your sister, I guess you're the chosen one in a sense.
Yeah, but see, that's,
Well,
yeah, I don't like that.
All right, but it's amazing that.
I don't think God chooses people to help. I don't know the answer. And that's what I struggle with. I struggle with my whole life.
Yeah. All right.
Or my dad, you asked me my dad.
Yeah. The story of you meeting your dad and you getting on the road on the car brake, that one.
Well, so we fast forward all these difficult years, and then I'm a teenager now, and I ran away from home at one point to get out of that life. Ended up in a worse situation. Went back because my brother and sister were going to be taken away for me to have a good life, and I couldn't deal with that. So I just went back to work and buried myself in work and school, and then I met you.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
At 17.
That-
Well, my dad came after meeting you, so,
Yeah, no, but just tell that story and then we'll go.
So you don't want me to stay chronological?
No.
Okay. My dad. So then my dad, we were living in New York, and I reached out to him, and my mom had told me who to call, and he called me and said, "Oh, hi, this is Paul. I'm your dad. I live in Georgia." And I was in New York. And I'm like, "Well, how far is Georgia?" And he says, "Oh, it's, I don't know, 12, 14 hours, something like that." I'm like, "All right, I'll drive out there tomorrow." And he's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll drive out there tomorrow." I don't know. I'm crazy. I've always been crazy. So I hopped in this 1970-something Oldsmobile, and you're like, "You're crazy, honey." And I'm like, "It's okay.
I was on all my children at the time.
Yeah, you just started on my children. I just was dying to know what it was like to have a dad and see a dad that I'd never met. And, I'd heard horror stories about him and what he had done to me, and I just wasn't sure if I believed it based on seeing what my mom had done to my brother. So I wanted to meet him. And I drove to Georgia, and on the way there, I broke down in the middle of nowhere around midnight. And if this guy ever saw this and knows that he's a guy in the middle of the night at midnight, pouring down rain, my car breaks down in the middle of nowhere, and this headlight pulls up behind me, and I'm petrified, thinking this is it, the end of my life. And it ends up being this truck driver who saw me go off the road and knocked on my window to tell me to open my hood, and then looked at me and said, "You're not going anywhere, so
That's
either come with
amazing.
me and we can go to the payphone, or you're not moving." So I had to hop in the car.
Could have been a serial killer.
Yeah, I had to hop in the semi-truck with this man and trust him, and he waited there with me for 2 hours till my dad showed up.
Then you met your dad.
Yeah, then I met him, and it wasn't the fairy tale I'd hoped it to be. He was more emotional than I was, as far as like my daughter, where I was kind of like, I don't know what I expected. It just didn't feel, I didn't feel the connection that I thought I would feel, because I always had this fairy tale image of like your dad is like everything, and when you meet him, it's going to be,
Yeah.
the answer to your life, and it wasn't. And I think that was difficult for him for me to not feel the same way when I'm the one that searched him out. So I had a little guilt, and I felt bad about that. And I tried to stay in contact with him after that, but he had a family and 2 daughters, and we just didn't. And the next thing you know, another 20 years went by.
Dang.
Yeah.
But at least you did it, and you got it out of your system.
Yeah.
Because I know
Oh,
it was in your system.
Yeah.
And I was like, are you really going to go there?
And I did. Yeah. Not the
All right,
hardest
let's,
thing.
can we get into when you first saw me? I mean,
What do you want me to say?
I mean,
Do we make this like?
no. Well, look, the first time, let me tell the story.
Mm-hmm.
You were at merry-go-round.
Okay.
You
You're
were-
gonna tell your non-truth now.
Well, you're going to say you weren't dancing, but I saw it with my own 2 eyes. You know, we are family, or whatever you were dancing to. And then I came to, what was your first impression of me?
Very handsome.
Come on.
Very handsome. I loved your curly hair, which your son now has.
Right.
He had very, very curly hair.
Right.
And your dimples, and, just, I don't know, I thought you were way too handsome for me.
Oh, really?
Well, of course.
But you used to say that you weren't that into me or something, but maybe.
No, the joke was because I came from Texas, which, where I lived in Texas, were a lot of Latins.
Yeah.
And so I thought of California as like beach blonde, blue eyes. So I thought I'd move to California and meet a guy like that, like a Ken doll. That's what I tease you about, but yeah.
So I remember saying to you, you want to go out.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Then you stood me up.
I stood you up because you were 16. I was like, I just felt I was kind of, I was young, It's like an Elvis Presley thing. And then what happened is, I was, put into a mental institution, went through all that. You didn't know all this or anything. And when I got out of the mental institution, because I just started acting, and didn't really, I went from modeling, unsuccessful, acting, mental institution.
Well, look at you now.
Well, and then went back into the same mall, Sun Valley Mall, and you were there, and
I was still working in the same
yeah,
school.
and I said to you,
Merry-go-round, Pika, if you watch this and you ever see.
oh my God,
He was my boss.
I know.
He was awesome.
What did you think when I asked you out again?
Honestly, listen, because my life is what it was, when I started dating at 16, to me it was just exciting to like go out on dates, and I got asked out a lot because I was working in a mall at a men's clothing store, so there were always guys, and I didn't care who the guy was. I didn't judge, look, anything. I wasn't looking for any one thing. I just enjoyed and appreciated people saying, hey, do you want to go out? So I went out a lot. So, one date. I didn't make a lot past one date, so I don't know what that says about me, but a lot of one dates. I think I was just too shy. I think I was just way too shy for most people. And they're all older, much older. So when you came back around, you were just like another date again. It didn't bother
So
me.
you didn't care that I'd stood you up?
No.
So then we double dated.
We double dated because you swooped in on your friends. Manny,
What do you mean I
your friend wanted to ask me out, and you wouldn't let him. He was first.
Yeah, of course.
So you felt bad,
That's
so you
right.
asked me if I had a friend to go out with him.
Right.
Since you asked me out.
Right, because Manny wasn't going to have you. I was.
Well, I mean, I would have gone out with him. I would have gone out with him.
Okay. So we go back to my house. We were double dating, and you know, we're kind of having fun and stuff. We're in the living room, they're in the other room, TV room. And I always say this because it's the truth. I didn't think anything, I didn't know that I was going to care about you. I really didn't. I thought, you know, she's 17 and, you know, we're just going to go out. But when you left, I kissed you.
Mm.
And I thought, damn, I really thought the kiss blew me away. I mean, I don't.
That's like the Notebook kiss.
I don't know, because I kiss a lot of, you know, I was dating quite a lot.
We know.
Well, I don't have to get into that,
We know.
but we're going to get into it a little bit. But
I dated a lot too.
we don't have to get into that. But then I thought, damn, there's something different here, special. And then we started going out. And then one day I found you in my mom and dad's house crying, and apparently you were going to live with me. I mean, the story's in my book, you know.
Yeah.
I guess your mom OD'd,
Yeah.
and then you decided you can't do that anymore because she's OD'd quite a bit.
Yeah, often.
And so you moved in with me, and then I took you out in front of the house and said, look, now I may get in trouble for this with the audience, but I said, look, I care about you, but I'm not ready to.
Mm-hmm.
And you had to make a decision. Why did you make that decision to still stay with me if I said I'm still, you know, I'm not ready to settle down?
Well, I mean, I was in a position I didn't have a choice. You know, I either stay with a guy who I loved, and because obviously I'd fallen in love with you at that point, and deal with the pain of that, knowing that every night I had to know that you were going out, you know.
Not every-
It was a lot. So, but that wasn't your fault. That was just the situation. Or go back to the home that was, you know, traumatic and horrible, and I didn't want to be there. And, you know, your parents gave me that opportunity of a home to live in. So, you know, I just worked, and I wasn't even finished with high school yet, so I just worked.
That's right. But you graduated.
Yeah, I was the first one in my entire family to graduate. That's how, you know, difficult my family history is. But I worked and graduated, and I focused on that, you know, while you still went out and talked about, you know, moving to LA with your buddies to
Oh, no, don't bring that up.
It was hard. It was really, really hard. But I just, like my life, I just, you know, did what I needed to do to get through each day and try to hope for what I wanted.
Well, I'm glad you did. So we lived together for a bit, and then I had my second breakdown, and you were there. How, I mean, as a young girl, to see someone that she loves going through whatever it was, that second breakdown was very God and related, right? A lot of things with God. And one of the stories I tell is that I had to go to a church, and you were there, my mom was there, and Monsignor came out and said, "What's wrong?" I said, I got to go inside. I got to pray. He goes, they always look at you like, are you on drugs or something, you know? And I said, he goes, well, it's locked, you know. But I'll unlock it for you. You go in there, but don't go up to the altar, because the alarm will go off. So I'm sitting in the third pew, crying and praying, and I walk up to the altar, and the alarm didn't go off. And so, in my, when you're going through a manic episode, you know that's God.
Yeah.
But that person over there could say that's just a coincidence, you know, because I think Monsignor said, they forgot to turn it off or turn it on, you know.
Yeah.
But how did you feel at that time seeing me go through this bizarre behavior and manic episodes?
I think for me, you know, I believe we end up where we're supposed to be. And because I went through so much with my mom and her rage and personality changes and, you know, ODing and things like that, it wasn't like something I was afraid of and felt like I had to run from. It was something that I felt like I needed to stay and needed to help. And I just didn't even question that.
Dang. You remember the party, Mario's party? And I was sitting by the TV. Well, I mean, what goes through your head if I'm sitting by the TV and who was the actor? From It's a Wonderful Life?
Yeah. Jimmy Stewart.
Jimmy Stewart. I'm at a party with a bunch of people, put the chair right by the TV, and I start becoming James, what's his name?
Jimmy Stewart.
Jimmy Stewart, you know, and I was just like, you know, and...
Well, because of my mom. I think because my mom was a different person on drugs than she was...
Ah, that's interesting, yeah.
In real life. In real life, my mom was loving. My mom loved animals. My mom loved us. But then when she was under the influence of drugs, and so I think I looked at it the same way, something was wrong with you. Something was happening to you. I didn't know what. I'd never heard of manic depression or anything like that. So
of course.
Something was clearly happening to you, and it wasn't something you were doing. Where when you do drugs, you can almost be angry at the person because they're choosing to do the drugs until you understand addiction. And once you understand addiction, then you learn it's very difficult to not be angry and, you know, blame that person because it's truly an addiction. So maybe I had an understanding of it that I didn't even understand at that point. You know?
Well, I think what you're trying to say is you saw so much by that time in your life.
Yeah.
That even a manic, but we will speak about the third manic episode.
Yeah.
Maybe that was a bit too,
Yeah.
bit too much. So then we moved to New York. You were 19.
Your first day on All My Children. I still have the script.
I played Nico.
New York was really hard for me.
Well, yeah, because I wasn't the greatest.
You mean you weren't a great boyfriend? You weren't a great boyfriend before that either. But it wasn't your fault. I don't blame you for it.
Yeah.
You didn't choose to settle down with me. It was just our situation. So as hard as it was for me, you know, I didn't blame you for that. But in New York was harder for me because in New York, I'm 19 now. We've been together for over 2 years, and we're living together.
Right.
So New York was where I expected you to say, okay, you're my girlfriend now. And even though New York was you introducing people to me as boyfriend and girlfriend, we're boyfriend and girlfriend, you still found a way at that time, because this is your first opportunity at fame and success, and you were living that, and you were young. You were, you know, what, 26?
24, 25.
25. So, you know, it was hard for you to fully commit to that. And so 2 years of that. So we're on our 4th year now, and now we're living alone together, and I have another 2 years of a not full commitment from you. So it was very difficult. I was young. I was extremely jealous. So whenever people ask me about love scenes and things like that, now I'm just like, I don't care. But then it was very difficult for me. But it wasn't just because of love scenes. It was because I didn't feel loved by you in the way that I needed. And you weren't giving me that kind of love because you weren't ready. And it took 2 years of that to where I finally got to a point where I said, I can't do it anymore. And I had no clue where to go.
Well, I'm going to go to, not specifics, just, yeah, it's pretty well known what turned it. And it's beautiful, what you said to me, and I remember being in the car and you saying to me, it's like when you let the bird go, and if he flies back, then it's meant to be. If not, it's not, right? Because I had been, let's just say I'm not proud of it, but, you know, I did some stuff over a weekend that I should not have done. I didn't do, I mean, it was not good, but nothing really happened, which is weird. But I realized during the weekend of partying and things that, oh man, now you're going to get me going. I was sleeping at all my children's dressing room. And one night, I had a dream, after all this partying stuff, I had a dream that Paula had died, and I won an Academy Award. And when I was thanking everybody, I looked up and I said, I just want to thank Paula for this Academy Award. And then that's when I said, I can't lose you. So I called you, I was in the middle of the night, and I said, can we see each other tomorrow or something? And I think I bought you earrings, am I right? Mm-hmm. Bought you earrings, and we ended up getting back together, and then I threw a surprise birthday party for you in San Francisco. Angelo Pagan, remember?
Mm-hmm. My 21st birthday.
21st birthday, mm-hmm. And then I asked you to marry me.
Wow.
What do you mean, wow?
Well, you didn't ask me to marry you.
What did I do?
You had this party. Yeah. It was my 21st birthday.
Oh, gosh.
But it was also your coming home. Like, you just left all my children, you're moving back to LA. So, you know, your family was all about, oh, God, Mauricio's back, you know.
Right.
And so happy. So it was this big party. And you went up at the end of the party after Angelo sang beautifully. And you said, I want to make an announcement. And I want to announce Paul and I are getting married. But you never asked me. So I think it was pretty obvious at that point that you're like, in your mind, I'm giving her what she wanted, so I don't know if I have to ask, but you made up for it later.
Okay, so then we lived together.
Mm-hmm. We were already living together.
Right, but
we moved to LA.
We moved to LA, and LA was, first year was gangbusters, mm-hmm. right? Got this job, got that job, I got Desi. And then we kind of ran out of money mm-hmm. after a couple years. And you have to understand also, I wasn't taking my medication.
No, you'd stopped taking it, which I didn't know.
Because I was, felt I didn't need it. But 2 years of out of work, 2 years of rage. Mm-hmm. And then I remember one day, I'll never forget, you really bailed me out of this one because I was ready to quit. I was in acting class and I couldn't do it. For whatever reason, I was in one of my funks. And to me, going back to all my children would have been failing. So, but it's the only time, acting-wise, that I said to you, I remember being on the bed, and I said to you, I give up. I give up. And I remember a tear coming down. I said, I just call all my children, whoever, I can't do it. And then you said, you're not giving up. You're not. And I kept, but I was ready, man. At that time, I was ready. And I didn't give up. So the beauty is, then being out of work, remember I came very close to doing Philadelphia.
I know.
Right? If Antonio Banderas had said no, it was mine. But it didn't work out, and I was disappointed, but I didn't expect it, but damn. Then General Hospital called, and I remember you saying, honey, General Hospital wants to meet you, and I said, I want to do movies. I don't want to do soap operas. And you said, honey, we're broke.
Yeah.
And so I took the meeting, great meeting. Wendy Rich, Shelley Curtis, the great, it was fantastic. I wanted to do, the contract was 6 months. I could do 6 months playing this character named Sonny, and then I can get the hell out. Everybody would see how great I've become. And then what happened is, 2-3 weeks into the job, I had my third nervous breakdown. I quit General Hospital.
To be a preacher.
To be a preacher. Take my shoes off, take my socks off. I just want to preach. And now, the infamous, one night, I was doing I did some crazy stuff that whole week, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I saw Jesus at Blockbuster. So.
You were literally out of your mind.
Yeah, that one was tough, yeah. And, I remember I was in the bedroom doing some crazy stuff, and then you called my psychiatrist, Dr. Noonan, and he said, let me speak to him. And so I get on the phone, I said, hey, Charles, how you doing? And then we talked, and then he talked to you, and you said, what do you think? He goes, he's having a nervous breakdown. And she goes, and Paula goes, how do you know? And he said, because he called me Charles.
Yeah.
He never called me Charles. So, make a long story short on this one. I don't know what night it was. You were on Oprah Winfrey talking about it. I was talking about it. I had drank a bottle of red wine, and I came into where the table was, and your knees were under the table, and I was saying to you, stop crying. And I said, if you don't stop crying, I'm going to kill you. And your knee, here's what I heard under the table. I've never seen that in movies, but not in real life. So, what was going through your head? You had to be petrified. How did you? What goes through your head at that time?
In that moment, there were two things, only two things I could think about, which were my dogs and my nieces.
Because I had threatened to
Yeah.
do something to your
My
nieces.
nieces were visiting at that time, and they were on the couch in the living room, and the minute I felt like it was safe for me to get up, because I was truly afraid and had no clue what you were capable of. It was the same feeling I got when my mom would be enraged on drugs. I knew that it wasn't her. I knew it wasn't you. So I didn't know what you were capable of. So I was trying to figure out how to get out of that place to get my dogs and my nieces out of the house. And I remember the second you got up and you were like really, really very, very drunk and tired, you left and went and laid down. And the second you went and laid down, I waited, got up, grabbed my nieces and my dogs, little dogs, and I ran across the street to a neighbor's house and just said, please help me right now. I don't know what's going on, but I need you to take my nieces and my dogs. And she, without question, took them. And I went back in the house because
But before that, you have to remember, I went to your niece's bed. They were sleeping on the
Yeah.
bed, and
Yeah.
every time I'd see you walk by, I'd put my hand on
Yeah.
them to scare you, right? And then you called my friend. He's like a preacher, and I got on the phone with him. I'm like, "What the fuck do you want?"
Yeah.
And he's like, he's reading the scriptures and acting like I'm, the exorcist or something.
Yeah.
It kind of calmed me down. That
Vince Fanny, yeah.
Yeah, it kind of calmed me down. But you didn't call the cops.
No, and that's why I got my nieces and my dogs out of the house, and I knew I had to come back in and try to get you out of that place that you were in. And I don't know, I wouldn't recommend it to someone because I don't know if it's safe. I just knew it's what I felt like I had to do. So I came back in. I had called your other friend who I felt safe. He's a big guy, Danny
Yeah.
Quinn, and I was waiting on him to get there. So I had to, take my time talking to you, just telling you. Basically, I told you whatever you wanted to hear until he could get there and help me because I was afraid and it was unsafe. And I didn't know what you were going to do to me or what you're going to do to yourself. And then when he got there, I calmed down a lot more, and you calmed down because I think you could feel like he could help you.
Yeah.
You couldn't overpower him. But
Yeah.
you could overpower me.
Yeah.
So being able to overpower me and terrify me was almost like fueling you. But then when Danny walked in, something changed. And plus, I'd also called your doctor when I went out, and he had prescribed a tranquilizer. And I went to this drugstore, got the tranquilizer, came back in, so I knew I had that on me as well, hoping we could talk you into taking it. And we did. We talked you into taking it.
Well, it's pretty safe to say that I think if you had called the cops,
Yeah, it wouldn't have been good.
it would not have been good. I still believe that General Hospital, they were so freaking, even now with Frank Valentine,
Yeah.
oh man, now I get. It's just been, General Hospital is such every producer in every decade has been so loyal to me and has taken care of me.
Yes. We have a lot that we owe to that family.
Yeah. All right, let me change, because now I got all emotional shit. Let's talk about the kids and how incredible each kid that we have is, and how they're all so different. They're all very successful. Speak on that.
Oh, God. Let me tell you, there's nothing I've ever done in this life that's meant more to me than having my kids. You know? I was with Joshua the other day at GH, and I was telling him how I remember being in the commissary at GH when Kaylee was a little baby. And then she grew up there, and then running through the halls, and, you know, Donna, you know, missing Donna and Carol and all the people that we've lost, and, you know, and talking to them about how they grew up here. And then, you know, Josh was like kind of smiling at me, and seeing him there now today, like how it's come full circle, and he's working there. Kids are my world.
And animals.
And animals. There's three things in life for me. Obviously, family is number one, but so my kids, animals, and Disney. I know you hate Disneyland, but there are things that just make me happy, you know. Kaylee was the firstborn, and was the perfect child from the second she was born, all throughout childhood. She's the reason Vanessa has Cassius, because she was like a model baby, and anyone that was around her said, "Oh, that's what it's like having a baby. I want a baby."
Right.
So
And that
Cassius,
caveman
thank your
hair,
mom
too.
for falling in love with Kaylee. Yeah, no, kids are everything to me. And then Cassidy comes along, and she's just the purest angel like I've ever seen in my life. And then Joshua, who's the wild card, the wild child, who's your son. Not all your kids, but he's your son. He is your child. And then Heather. And then we were blessed with Heather, you know, because I feel like Heather was always supposed to be my child.
I'll never forget when Heather said, we're in the bedroom, and we had just adopted her, and she looked at you and she said, "Yeah, can I call you Mom?" I don't know, I just lost it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and plus we have so many animals, you know. Buddy the goat, Vito, Flower, we can
Yeah.
keep going down the line, and then,
You have Buddy the goat because it was an anniversary present. I don't know if you remember that. You should
Nah.
never say that.
no, I didn't know.
You don't remember?
Uh-uh.
I got them for you for our anniversary.
Oh, I'm glad Buddy's been incredible.
Yeah. And then Vito, you have Vito, another rescue.
Kane.
Road dogs.
Yeah.
Because of Cassidy. Cassidy is my angel, who, like me, is absolutely passionate about rescuing, and I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah. So, what I want to talk about, I want to talk about our wedding.
First one?
You know, the surprise wedding.
Okay. So second one.
Yeah. It was cool. Look, I had done an interview with Jan Carl for Entertainment Tonight, and Jan took me outside, said, "You got to, I know it's your, 10-year anniversary. You got to throw a surprise wedding for your wife." I said, "No, I don't do that. Paula does that. I'm not good at that." And she said, "No, you got to. My husband did it for me. It was the greatest thing, blah, 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 blah." So I said, "All right, I'll do it." And I got Billy Warlock to help me out. And it was all going to be a surprise. But what happened?
Well, Billy didn't help you. Tolan
helped me. Yeah.
Tolan, who was
I know.
Billy's girlfriend at the time.
I get it.
She's the one that.
Right. But
yeah.
it was me talking to Billy. And,
Yeah, but Tolan put it together. She
Okay.
was the miracle worker.
So one day, the tickets of my family were delivered to my house, and you saw the tickets,
It was American Express bill.
American Express, and I'm like, oh, the surprise is
Yeah.
over. So
Because, of course, I pay the bills. So,
Right.
you
So
know.
you're like, what's this? And I had to think twice. So I said, oh, you got it. You caught the surprise. Here's the deal, honey. We're going to Ricky Martin's Island. And that's going to be our 10-year anniversary. We're going to go to the island. And you bought it.
Yeah, I did. I believed
Thank goodness.
you. I believed you. Yeah.
So the day of, and this is not, I have pictures to prove it, and I don't think I'll be able to, hopefully you have pictures. But the day of the wedding, the sky was black.
Mm-hmm.
The sky was black. And I'm thinking, we're getting married outside, like on this hill, right, in my backyard. But I'm thinking it's going to rain, it's black, blah, blah, blah.
Well, and we were in a hotel because I didn't know the wedding was going to be at the house. So
Right.
you had taken me away from the house.
Yeah.
And it was all
gonna
being set up at the house, and I
Yeah.
had no idea.
So I had Paula at a hotel, so that morning, I got on my knees, and I said, baby,
You finally asked me to marry you.
right.
Yeah.
And I gave her the ring,
You gave me another ring because my original wedding ring was stolen.
right?
Yeah.
And you're like, what am I gonna wear? It's not gonna fit. I said,
Yeah.
but it fit you, the wedding dress.
Yeah, I had put my wedding dress in a box 10 years earlier because when we got married, Maurice had booked a job,
Right,
and we were not able to have the wedding that we were planning. So we were going to do it the next year, and then the next year, and then with the first kid, and then with the second kid. And now here it is 10 years later, and you're like, hey, honey, don't worry, I'll bring your dress. I'm like, my dress, like from 10 years ago? 2 kids ago?
right.
It wasn't even finished then. And
No.
you're like, yeah, no big deal. So my friend Julie
Yeah.
brought the dress and put me in it.
And I left to the house in this black sky. And so Paula's doing her dress and get it all fitted, whatever. So we're waiting for Paula, and everybody's sitting there, and 4 jet planes fly over. I couldn't believe it, over right where we were at. Now, this is no lie, I'm not exaggerating. It's in my book. Paula comes down to Bocelli, Andrea Bocelli. And she comes down.
That sounds like The Godfather.
And as she comes down, I swear you not, the sky parted. That black sky parted, and the sun came through. And I was like, wow. And then, boom, we got married. And,
With both my daughters as the flower girls.
yeah.
Yeah.
Whew, okay. We're wrapping it up here, man, because I'm like, okay, how I want to kind of end this, Paula,
Yes, honey.
I don't need to talk about you getting cancer and
That's okay.
I know, but because that just about did me in
Okay.
that time.
Okay.
But that didn't do me in as much as the pandemic. But, I speak about the pandemic, especially now with suicides. And I speak so much about the pandemic, suicides, anxiety, and things, because it was the closest that I've ever been to dying in my mind, right? But I just want to hear it from your side of it, because I always say, you always tell me you're stronger than you know. That's why we have the T-shirts and everything. And no, man, now I'm getting emotional. But I just want to hear a little bit of what it was like to see me go through that.
Well, I mean, the same as it was the second breakdown and the third breakdown. It's like anytime you're watching someone you love suffering or in pain, it's horrible. There's nothing that can make you feel better but watching their pain go away. Nothing. When
Right.
Joshua broke his back, when Kaylee had her appendix burst, it's pain. It's any kind of pain in someone you love. You do anything you can possibly do to take that away. For me, for you at that time, I didn't have a doubt, like not one doubt in my mind that you weren't going to be okay. I didn't. This wasn't like the third breakdown where you were, in that rage, and I didn't know I was scared. I didn't know. I just knew I had to keep trying to help you. This time I did know.
That's amazing because you had no clue
Yeah.
that, I mean, every morning
Oh, I knew. I had a clue. I saw you.
that I would.
I saw you, but I knew you weren't going to do it. I wasn't afraid one time ever
Wow.
that you were. I had that much belief and strength in you. I did.
That's it. I didn't think that you were going to answer like that. Because I have to be honest with you, that during the pandemic was the closest that I had to not feeling I could.
But you know what's funny is like you felt that way this time, and we've talked about this before. But during the bad breakdown, I did not know what you're capable of, and you tried to say to me you knew you wouldn't do anything, and I didn't believe that.
Okay, during that breakdown, in the moment when I'm telling you I'm going to kill you and stuff, I knew I wasn't going to kill you.
Yeah.
That I did know. But what I'm trying to say is during the second breakdown or the first breakdown or even third breakdown, I never had the thoughts of killing myself, literally figuring out how to do it. I never had that.
Well, I know, because
Until
they
the
were different.
Until the pandemic.
Well, they were different because the third one was your rage. The third one was, and every situation's different. Every situation's different. Like your first one was vulnerable in God and, thinking you were seeing God and you were a Messiah, and then the third one was your rage, and it ended in God and you wanting to go to God and be a preacher and whatnot. Your anxiety in the pandemic was you being vulnerable and broken inside, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's why you feel the way you felt and thought that was maybe the point in your life where you couldn't go on. But I didn't think it.
Interesting. I'm not going
Yeah,
to, I want to argue with you, but I can't.
yeah.
You have your own truth and I have,
Yeah.
but, so what I want to say, because I like to end anything that has to do with suicide or these deep talks, I like to end it this way. As tough as it is, as fragile as I was or have been many a times, and no one's more fragile than I am. I keep saying that, but it's the truth. As my wife just said, you can get through it. If you're out there feeling a certain way, you're having thoughts, you can get through it. You got to just keep going. That's what I did. And guess what? After the pandemic, my book came out, 2 more Emmys, and created State of Mind. If you would ask me any day during the pandemic that was going to happen, I would have said, absolutely not. But because of strength, you keep going, life rewards you. Okay, now, this has been a great interview, Paula. Very proud of you.
Thank you.
I mean, you're like a champ. You're like a, you know what it reminded me of? You're like a psychiatrist.
Like your daughter who's about to graduate
Yeah.
from Pepperdine with her master's. Very proud. Or
Yeah.
your daughter Heather who joined the Air Force
Yes.
at 30 with a 2-year-old. Very proud. Cassidy, who I told you is my savior for all animals and everything.
Yes.
Joshua, who's an insanely talented,
It's not that
you
good.
know, he's very talented. He's such a good boy. I'm very, very proud of him.
Yeah, this has been great. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you for my Swarovski.
oh, yeah. I got a Swarovski and somebody,
Elephants.
yeah. This is so much better than I thought. So much better than I thought. I mean, this is.
You always say that. You
But I'm
always-
always, but it's true. But this one especially because
I didn't want to do it.
you didn't want to do it, and I didn't know if you were going to clam up. In the beginning, you clammed up a little bit, but then you just started talking like, you know, like you're the state of mind chick.
I'm the chick behind state of mind, not here. I won't be here again. This will
You
be-
may, because the
I will
fans
not
are
be
going to
here
go
again.
crazy, and they're going
No,
to
I
say,
won't
we
be here
need you again.
I did it.
All right, anyway,
Thank you for having me.
state of mind, bye-bye.